Donald Trump's SLAMS murder of NYPD cop Jonathan Diller by serial criminal as he attends slain officer's wake. We have to toughen it up. These things can't happen. I look, there's the obvious and tremendous respect that I have for Donald Trump. And I know I can already hear everyone getting ready to type in those comments where they say that I've been very critical of the police. And I think that criticism still stands. And I can be critical of police while still respecting the duty of an officer who was killed because of Democrats' failed policies, understanding that y'all understand I actually like the institution of police. I think we have a problem today. But outside of my personal views, I want to just stress the importance of who Donald Trump is, who is actually taking time out of his day to go and meet with officers, to speak at this event and help the family. In the meantime, Joe Biden is at a fundraiser hanging out with Obama and Lizzo, where it's the highest end ticket is $500,000. And it is plainly obvious the priorities of this country. I think it's fair to have criticisms of government agents, of the police, especially the Capitol Police, while still recognizing that there is respect for civic duty and disdain for it or disregard for it. And that's what's currently happening. So who are you voting for?
Well, obviously, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There's really no choice in this matter. But I think what we're seeing here is the division of the parties. And this is the greatest example I think we've seen to date of what's happening. Is that back in the day, you looked, the Democrats were the party of the people, the party of the union workers. Now you have Biden with Lizzo and Obama at a star-studded gala. And yet Trump is out there with the people, slain officers, their families. He's doing what needs to be done. So we're seeing the ultimate description right now of the divide that we're having, where the Democrat Party is no longer the party of the people. It's no longer the party of the working class. It's the party of the haves.
I agree. I heard the story, so please someone fact check me if this is wrong, because I just saw it on Twitter, where they said that Trump immediately contacted the wife, spoke with her about it, and then right after he got off the phone, tunnels to towers, called her and said, "Your home is paid for." Is that? Did you hear that?
I saw that on Twitter too, but I haven't verified it yet.
So I heard that. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, CBS News is reporting that Tunnels to Towers will pay off his mortgage on their Long Island home, but I don't know that it's specifically because of Trump. It's not clear to me.
Well, right.
But
so the story as I saw it was that Trump called up, said, how are you? Hope everything's good. Asked what they needed, and then got off the phone, and then immediately Tunnels to Towers contacted her and said, "Your home's taken care of." So it could be independent of that. But at the very least, many people are giving Trump credit for contacting the family and giving his condolences. The issue here, and the reason why this is so obviously in the spotlight, is that we have a criminal immigration, alien invasion. You've got people storming the border, fighting National Guard. Crime is getting insane in New York while Democrats are releasing criminals. While it appears that everything's burning down, I mean, prices are going up and then they're denying it. Bill Maher, at the very least, said Joe Biden's going to lose because hot dogs are more expensive. The most smarmy way of describing that. Yeah, hot dogs. Regular working class people like to buy hot dogs for their family. Mm-hmm. That's like basic food stuff when you go to the supermarket. And he smugly says, "Oh, it's more expensive." Yeah, right. People can't afford to eat. And I'm watching all of this. We're hearing these stories of people getting pushed in front of trains. We're hearing these stories of women getting punched in the face in New York. And Joe Biden's at a party.
Well, it shows you who's acting presidential. That's the big criticism of Trump all the time, that he doesn't act like a president, that he doesn't, speak the right way or do the right thing, or he's too brash or whatever. And in this case, he's with the family of an officer who lost his life because of a failed federal policy or a leftist policy. And then you have two former Democratic presidents, Bill Clinton was there and Obama, and the current incumbent Democratic president raising money with pop stars who I also don't think really necessarily represent our values of the country. I mean, if one is the president, which form of a president would you want? The one that's trying to fundraise or the one that's actually with people who need him?
Or I'll put it this way. The left will say, "Oh, Trump's only doing this to fundraise. Or to make money or for political points or whatever." My response would be like, okay, then let's say you have two presidents who are trying to fundraise. Trump by honoring a fallen officer and spending time at the wake and speaking about it, or partying. Like, even if this is all just politics for Trump, I would rather a president pretend to care than a president just literally not care at all.
Whatever happened to optics? Right. So optics are everything in politics. It's everything in everything. It's everything in business, right? You want to have the proper optics. If anything, Biden should have just faked it because he doesn't care. Biden doesn't even know where he is right now.
He can't care.
He can't. He doesn't know.
There.
There's nothing in there. The wheel is spinning, but the hamster is dead. Yeah. All right. So Biden doesn't know where he is, but you think that someone there would be like, hey, Trump is one-upping us. But here's the problem. Is that these people with Trump derangement syndrome hate him so much. This guy could literally cure cancer. He could literally do everything right, which he's doing, and they will still say he's more evil than Biden, who is out there partying with whatever Lizzo is. I believe she's classified as a blimp, and he's out there partying with her instead of honoring this fallen soldier, I'd like to say.
I think one of the biggest and most unfortunate things about the recent crimes that we've seen in New York City between this cop getting shot and the person getting shoved onto the subway and killed is that the people who are committing these crimes are repeat offenders. I'm reading from the story here that there were two people in the car. One of the people who shot back at this officer, both have dozens of prior arrests. The person who shoved the lady onto the subway also had many prior arrests. I'm also willing to bet the person going around punching women in the face near Washington
It's not
Square
one
Park,
guy.
I bet it's a handful of people who are repeat offenders. There's a serious 1%er issue with committing crimes in the city, and the city needs to be willing to involuntarily institutionalize a lot of these people, but there just doesn't seem to be the political will to do that.
I can shorten that for you and just say arrest.
Yeah, I mean, but also like there's some people who it needs to go beyond arrest. The people who can't take care of themselves, who are a threat to themselves and others. There are a ton of these people running around the area where we're seeing women get decked around. And again, it's just really unfortunate because these are self-inflicted wounds. These aren't things that are beyond, the government's capability to help prevent. So,
yeah.
Well, it says here the guy was arrested 21 times.
So here's the thing. Now, we need to be critical of police officers, right? We need to be critical of everybody in a society. Imagine if you're an NYPD officer, and I'm friends with a lot of NYPD officers. Imagine if you're arresting these guys just to have these Soros-funded DAs send them on the streets. You go to work every day, and keep in mind, these guys, I know this is not the argument you guys want to hear, especially Tim, but they have families, they have mortgages, they have pensions they've already put 20 years in, they have another 10 to hit their 30. So they're arresting them. They're letting them back out. Imagine how demoralizing it is as a police officer. Because a lot of these guys, they want to arrest criminals. A lot of cops get into policing to do the right thing.
I'm very sympathetic.
It's a negative pressure system, and I don't accept it.
I don't either.
What is happening now, and my criticism for the system of policing, primarily in, say, New York or Chicago or LA, is that we'll target New York specifically. They arrest a guy who's threatening to kill people, and he gets released right away.
Yes.
They know if I try and stop this guy, nothing will happen. You also have stories where, for instance, Luke Rutkowski, there was a guy on the train, someone started stabbing people, and the cops said, we're not getting involved because we have no legal obligation. The courts ruled the cops don't have an obligation to actually intervene. So what ends up happening is this. You have a scenario where cops either say, I can't stop the guy, because maybe there's someone on a murderous rampage and they're ill-equipped. They say, even if I try to stop the guy, he'll get released. Mm-hmm. And then you have a system where Daniel Penny cooperates and they say, now there's a guy I can arrest because he won't fight back. This negative pressure system means innocent people are more likely to be imprisoned, honest people are more likely to be imprisoned, and criminals are more likely to get away. This is what we're seeing in New York. Not a single NYPD officer should be accepting anything to do with transporting, detaining, or guarding Penny. Daniel Penny, the moment that whole thing happened with Jordan Neely in the train threatening to kill people, the cops should have been like, I'm not touching that man. When the supervisor says, arrest him, he's being charged, I ain't touching him. But what do you get? You get cops who would smile on their faces, be like, this one's easy. So it's not about the individual cop. It's about the fact that if Daniel Penny wasn't arrested and every single officer said no, and the police union issued a statement saying, we will not be involved, you're going to have to call state police to deal with this because we will not. And state police did the same thing. Penny would say, what are you going to do? And then maybe the criminals might be like, we better stop trying to kill people instead. I watched a video of a guy in New York stabbing someone, I believe. It's crazy because there's too many of these videos. They're just all over the place. And you got people hiding and trying to run from the trains. And I'm like, man, this is nuts. And what happens? These people don't get caught or arrested. The cops say, well, even if we arrest them, they're going to be let go. Then why did you arrest Penny? Why is there a video of Daniel Penny in cuffs being led into a building?
I 100% agree that there is accountability with the cops. 100%. However, it's top down. It starts from the voters. The voters are electing these people that are putting through these policies. They are voting for this. So the cops are like, this is what these people want. These New Yorkers are getting what they voted for. Who am I to say?
Sure.
Mark, there's something you said that I used to believe is true, but I don't think is anymore. And it's when you said you think people join the NYPD or different cop forces to try to fight crime. I used to believe that was true, but nowadays, just with seeing how the NYPD performs, it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like people are in it for a job. Many of them seem incompetent. There's also a feeling that they're there for the wrong reasons and aren't really trying to affect change. I'm not a proponent of hopping turnstiles, but when we see a lot of cops in the subways, that's what it feels like they're there for, because I still ride I live in Brooklyn and I ride the subway often. And the people who the cops seem to stop are the people who are hopping turnstiles. Again, that's wrong. And I'm not a proponent of that, but I also see a ton of homeless people actually committing crimes on the subway, or just people who probably should be involuntarily institutionalized riding around the subway that, you know, they should probably be dealing with instead. I understand there's a current culture of defunding the police and demoralizing the police, and they're dealing with a very tough time. But half of the NYPD does seem incompetent or doesn't want to do their job or are demoralized. And I don't fully blame them. I'm sympathetic towards them, but they aren't living up to what I think the expectations are.
And I'm not going to throw in the whole there's good cops and bad cops thing. That's a stupid argument. What I'm saying is that you get what you allow to happen. You get what you vote for. And that's what we're getting here. You don't see that stuff happen remember, try that in a small town. You just don't see it happen. You're not going to see the Franklin, Tennessee Police Department do stuff like that. They're going to uphold what they need to uphold. Like during COVID, we can say COVID now, right? During the times of COVID, I remember watching the news and I remember seeing these cops arresting moms at playgrounds, arresting people alone on the beach. And I'm in Franklin and I'm like, whoa, there's a cop at the park. There's a mom in the swing and the cop starts walking out towards them. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to film this, man. I'm going viral. Cop went and pushed the kid on the swing. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah, but in South Jersey, which is a suburban area, they pulled in outside cops to go shut down Attila's gym, and the cops went and did it. In Minnesota, a woman opened her cafe, so they threatened her with arrest. She fled to Iowa, and the sheriff's department actually tracked her down and arrested her. In Texas, a woman opened her salon, and she got arrested too. So, you know, look, it is not the individual officers, and I totally can respect them. And that's why you're going to get stories of hero cops, because they're heroes. You're going to hear stories of good cops who give people reasonable warnings and actually police their communities in reasonable and thoughtful ways. And then you're going to get stories of the institution in general and the pressure that exists, where it is more difficult to go after a deranged lunatic with a gun than it is Daniel Penny. And that's why we see people like Penny in prison and these criminals being let go. Now, that's mainly New York, and I can accept that. But even in Texas, you have Daniel Perry, a guy who was an Uber driver. And these far leftists during the George Floyd riots come up to his car. One guy's got a rifle at low ready. And when he walks up to the car with his rifle at low ready, the guy shoots him in defense. Now, why would he shoot? What's his reasonable expectation? In Provo, Utah, far leftists went up to a car for no reason and shot the guy. We had you had the guy, Aaron Danielson, in I believe, was it Portland? Far leftists walked up to him, Michael Reinold, put 2 bolts in his chest. This guy goes to prison. You have the Proud Boys at a Gavin McInnes event in New York. Antifa shows up harassing the patrons of this event. And when they come out, Antifa starts a fight with them. They engage. They choose to run at Antifa and engage in this fight. And when the police show up afterwards, the Proud Boys, with smiles on their faces, said, "Thank you, officer. Here's my information." And you know what the cop said? "Awesome. Now you're going to prison for 4 years and Antifa gets to go home." Antifa ran off and the cop said, "We don't care. We don't know who they are. You're going to prison," and locked up the Proud Boys. You can argue that police are good. You can argue we got to back the blue, but you at least need to understand the system as it's set up is pressurized. Yes. So if you are honest and you are cooperating, you will go to jail. And if you are a criminal who lies, cheats, and steals, you will not.
That's exactly what's happening. And again, it's systemic. We can't just blame the cops. We need to blame the cops, but we also need to look at the system around them that is causing them to make these decisions. And again, like there's a reason why I'm not a cop. I could never do that. I would have quit. But the problem is they already chased off all the good cops.
Yep.
They chased them off during 2020. The people who would not comply with unconstitutional orders.
And now they're DEI communists.
Pretty much.
I mean, this is something people need to consider.
Yeah.
How many officers in New York who resigned because of what the abuse they were getting were replaced by diversity and inclusivity, woke communist types? And now, at some point, there's going to be a communist wearing a communist hat with an NYPD badge, and there's going to be some conservatives going to be like, "Thank you, officer, back the blue," and they're gonna throw him in a gulag. So recognize you may like the institution of policing, but we need to pay attention to what's going on. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.